Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel and enable bell notification to never miss an update from us.
Hello everyone, this is Ashima and you're watching us on Entry channel. In this video, this session has been brought to you specially on a particular topic which is a very important news especially for banking aspirants, that is Reserve Bank Innovation Hub. So this hub has finally come into force and RBI has appointed the chairperson. That is the current news which is associated with this hub. So what are we going to talk about in this session? First of all, I'll highlight the main news. The main news is that the chairperson has been appointed. Right. So the main news is that the chairperson has been appointed finally, and this hub has come into force. So, what do we need to know from as a commoner also? What do you need to know about this hub? Why has it been built? What are the prospective ideas in the mind of RBA that they have built up this hub? So, we're going to talk about all of those things in detail, and it's hardly going to take 10 minutes of yours. And in this 10 minutes, you'll be learning this new thing about this hub so that you are aware that when you're talking to someone, you know what you're talking about, right? So let's begin on this. First of all, as I have told you earlier also in the beginning of the session, that this hub has been created by the Reserve Bank of India or RBI. Right now, why has it been built? The major idea is to promote the innovation across all the financial sectors. All the financial sectors being banking sectors and other sectors as well. So, what is the idea? Now, when I'm saying that they want to build it or make it higher, what is the idea behind it? That is to bring in more technological advancements into the finance sector. So, making use of more softwares, making use of more technological innovative ideas that can be put up for a better governance of them, for a better implementation of the schemes. This is what RBIH is going to do. So, what are the objectives? First of all, its objective is to bring in more efficient banking sector. So one of the major target is banking sector, that is banking services should be more efficient, they should be more direct addressing to the people for whom the service has been made. So more easily they can access the service, more easy it is for the bank to monitor the service and look out for other options as per the requirement. Second is deepening the financial inclusion. So, deepening the financial inclusion is also one of the prospects that is needed or that is going to be fulfilled by this RBIH. Third, being strengthening the consumer protection. How consumer protection are we talking about? Consumer protection, as in when you are dealing directly, when the hub is going to create such measures in which direct interface can be done with the consumers because they're using more technology, we are talking more directly to the customers. So when consumers are being contacted directly, we can know what problems are there and we can create certain protection measures for them, be it their accounts or their banking accounts or their loan transactions or whatever it means, cyber security as you can call. So we can address the cyber security once we know what is the issue. Next, and the fourth one is business continuity, which is the more important one. That is business continuity even at the times of emergency. Whenever there's an emergency, business is the first thing that gets affected. Even in pandemic situation, when we had lockdown, the business was affected severely. So what to do that the business continues even in time of any sort of emergency, be it a war time or a financial emergency, or it can be this health related emergency. So in any case of emergency, how can business be sustained, how the services can be provided? That is the idea of why this hub has been created. So once this innovation of technology or inclusion of technology comes in, a lot of new things can be seen, or we are expecting that a lot of things we are going to see once this takes into place. Right now, we'll talk a bit about this RBIH. What exactly is its formation? How is it going to function? So, RBIH is going to be maintained by a governing council, and this council will have 10 members in total. Does this include the chairperson or is it 10 plus 1? It is only 10. That is, it is 9 plus 1. 1 being the chairperson and 9 are the members of it. The first chairperson has been appointed. As of now, it is Shri Senapati Chris Gopala Krishnan. Chris Gopala Krishnan is a co-founder of Infosys. So he has a lot of, you can say, endeavors and a lot of experience as being a co-founder and a former co-chairperson of Infosys. Since he has been associated with the technology that we want to inherit, that is why this person has been chosen, or Chris Gopalakrishnan has been chosen. He is also going to be the first chairperson because it is the first time that this council is going to come into force. Since RBI's instrument it is, so you must know the governor of RBI, deputy governors of RBI, that being Shaktikant Das and BP Kanungo, MK Jain, MD Patra, and Rajeshwara Rao. One thing that comes again after this is that Chris Gopalakrishnan was also asked to form a committee, or they had formed a committee, which was formed by Ministry of Information and Technology. This is a relevant news, not a directly relevant, but an indirectly relevant. This Gopalakrishnan committee was formed, a Gopalakrishnan committee was formed by Ministry of Information and Technology, and this committee was formed in September 2019. So formation was in September 2019, and recently the report has come out. Recently being July 2020, the report has been released, or it has been submitted. So, what was this report on? The report was titled Non-Personal Data Governance Framework, and it was submitted in July 2020. Now, what do you mean by a non-personal data? So, non-personal data is any data which does not personally identify you, but it identifies the works that we are looking for, the data we are looking for. Because when we want to interact with consumers, we need to know what are their preferences, right? Like on a web page, if you look, you are searching for a thing for 2 to 3 days, you're finding clothes. Okay, you have been searching Myntra, you've been going to Flipkart, you've been going through other e-commerce sites. Next day you find, on 1 or 2 days you'll find that whichever web page you're visiting, most of the advertisements are associated with that website. More offers of Amazon, or more offers of Flipkart. How does that happen? They are identifying the data which does not, if that data is placed, that does not identify you as a person. It identifies your, or tracks your movement on the online platform. That is a non-personal data. So any data which is not personally identifiable, like my picture or my credit card number or something like that, not that, but something which identifies your preferences, that is a non-personal data. And this non-personal data can be classified into 3 parts. There are 3 forms of non-personal data. One being community non-personal data. Community non-personal data, that is for a state wise, if we do, that is a community, or a religion wise, that is a community non-personal data. Then comes public non-personal data, which is a public information, and general one, and then a private non-personal data, which I just talked to you about in internet tracking or advertisement tracking, right? So this committee had classified this non-personal data into 3 main data, that being community non-personal, public non-personal, and private non-personal. And they have said that this data is very important in unlocking the innovation, because we get to know the preferences of the person, right? So it also recommended, this report also recommended, that there should be compulsory sharing of non-personal data, because no one is going to allow it. Most of the time we don't allow it, right? So it should be a compulsory one, and there should not be any wrong use of that, right? So committee suggested that a separate authority should be created to oversee all of that non-personal data. Now this separate authority that they talked about, that authority is RBIH Innovation Hub, because that is going to use this non-personal data and bring it into more efficient format. So this is all about RBIH that you need to know. You've come to know about the chairperson, you've come to know about RBI, you've come to know its objectives, what is going to be its endeavors, objectives, who are going to be the members. There are going to be 9 members, and since it's such a specialized one, it's going to have IITs and IISCs people and NPCI members. So people from these highly specific organizations which can work on their projects, that is the person or group they are looking for as members. Right? So this committee has been created now. It was earlier constituted, and now this committee has been given a phase of innovation hub, right? So with this, I would take your leave. And I hope this session has been helpful to all of you for gaining more information about this topic. For more such videos, you can subscribe to the channel and do share the video as much as you can so that it reaches all the people that require such information. Do hit the like button if you find this helpful, and do comment on any of your doubts or any recommendations for the video. Thank you so much for being with us and hope for a wonderful day ahead for you.